Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's largest platform for entrepreneurs. If you have any questions about anything, we have got it covered. Today on the weekend edition, we're putting the spotlight on the tourism market in Dubai, talking about the gradual recovery we're seeing in that market, lessons from there, and opportunities for entrepreneurs. Let me welcome in my panelists today. First up, Marc Descrozaille, COO of Accor, Middle East and Africa. Danielle Curtis, Reed Exhibitions, Exhibition Director, Middle East, Arabian Travel Market. Mamoun Hmedan, Managing Director, Middle East, North Africa and India at WeGo. Thank you to the three of you for joining us on this panel, talking about really the changes that we're seeing and have seen in the tourism industry and sector in Dubai, and also what is leading the growth as we're back and as we've started 2021. My first question open to the three of you to really talk about some of the key challenges that we've seen as far as the pandemic goes, and for the tourism space, and how really has Dubai and how really those were addressed. You could talk about yourself personally as well, overcoming some of those challenges. Danielle, if I could maybe come to you first.
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, for the opportunity today. It's great to come together and have this discussion. I mean, without a doubt, the pandemic in 2020, I feel like it's behind us. But of course, we've entered into a new year with new excitement, new opportunities, I guess. But if we reflect on some of the challenges from 2020, Reed Exhibitions operate over 400 events globally. So we're across many verticals, and we run some of the largest travel and tourism exhibitions across leisure, luxury and MICE sectors. The pandemic really does remind us that we are a global industry and with global responsibilities. So the safety of our stakeholders was number one priority. In 2020, you would have seen a lot of the global exhibitions, including Reed's exhibitions, had to postpone, and they pivoted very, very rapidly onto virtual events. So a very steep learning curve. But most importantly, throughout that time, we were still able to have industry updated, keep them connected, albeit virtually, and most importantly, conduct events to enable those transactions to happen. So when we're in an uncertain environment, which really kind of took us through that, face-to-face meetings could have been instigated on our virtual platform. So the steep learning curve behind that most certainly had positive outcomes, whilst we had to react very, very quickly to that situation.
Okay. Marc?
I mean, many things have been very similar for Accor. We operate here in Dubai, more than 50 hotels. We're the number one operator actually in the city, and in the region for us, we have 400 hotels, and all markets have been very, very impacted, of course, by the pandemic, and it was a big surprise to all of us. What is really interesting to look at today is that we have reopened the vast majority of our hotels in Dubai. All of them are now reopened, which is really positive. And we had to actually completely adapt to the market conditions. First of all, into bringing safety in our hotels. So we created a global safety, a pandemic safety type of a series of measures and norms, which we call All Safe. And I think it has also given the credibility and the reassurance for the client base that it is safe to go to our hotels. And I think that's one of the key reasons why we have also gained market share throughout the pandemic. And at the same time, we needed to adapt to the local market and finding ways to attract the local market that could not really travel elsewhere into our hotels. And very interestingly, before the pandemic, 5% of the clientele in the UAE was actually residing in the UAE. Today, it is more than 40%. So you have people who live in Dubai and go to hotels on the weekend in Dubai, on the Palm, on the beach, want to have a different experience. And that was, something completely new to us in this part of the world and in Dubai in particular. And I think, adaptability has been the key word, and keeping our people safe and our clients safe has been the primary focus throughout. And the city, from that perspective, is doing a lot as well in helping in this process and having this perception.
Mamoun?
First of all, thank you for having me taking part of this conversation. Actually, for us at WeGo, as an online travel brand that's been in the region for quite some time, we have more than 24 million users in the GCC using our app and our web services pretty much weekly or monthly. The biggest challenge we faced, I remember when it's all started to hit within the region, is basically how to stay relevant for our users at that point of time. So that was very important. Normally people come to us to shop the market as a meta search, find the best deal for their flights or hotels, go ahead and book it. Now, there is no booking, there's no travel, majority of the cities are under lockdown. We had to keep something going with the users. And around that, we redesigned our entire marketing outreach, our entire content strategy, our entire social media strategy. I think we did a very good job. We've been a bit dynamic with that. We remained informative. We went straight away to the point and to the problem, to the COVID story. We created trackers, we created safety measures, tools. We managed to gather all the country by country, city by city rules and restrictions and protocols for those who are willing to experience travel again. And that sort of kept us within the mindset of most of the users until things started to open up, specifically in Dubai, where towards Marc's point, staycation became a trend by all means, and we started seeing that, and that was like a new curve that we've never thought about before at that scale. Those are the main points I would point out.
One thing, of course, that everyone was very concerned about, the pandemic, of course, has heightened the concerns over safety and security, especially when you're traveling. Marc, this question is directed to you. Could you talk to us about how you, at your company, how you've ensured, as the leader really of this business, that the aspect of safety concerns around that were being maintained and, were being communicated, that there is no fear perhaps when it comes to, say, traveling, staying at hotels, etc.?
Thank you. Yes, here I think we're benefiting from the fact that we're in a global international company, and we put together a committee very quickly in the process whereby we would actually exchange best practices from the various markets that we operate into. And this committee, after something like 3 weeks, put together a fairly large number of preferred practices which were actually mandatory with a certification process, and we got the support as well from third parties in terms of how to provide expertise and medical advice to clients and employees, and there is a hotline for that. At the same time, we are doing the same when it comes to insurance, and we're partnering with AXA. And we really wanted to have the best experts to actually support us and give this hospitality-like, and when I say hospitality, more like having like in an hospital, you would be having this level of safety when it comes to hygiene and cleanliness. And what we did then afterwards was to start to communicate about it and to organize a protocol of actions on a daily basis so that we could audit, we could have self-audits, we could have audits from the outside, and ensuring that on a daily basis and several times in the day, we're making sure that distancing is happening, that the cleanliness of the bedrooms is happening, and that there is a seal for everyone, so that you know that when you're entering a room, you will be the first person entering after the people who have cleaned it, etc., etc. So we had many of them, and we also complied with the local regulations, which typically would be in line, and typically the Accor norms would be actually more demanding than those of the local requirements.
Mamoun, this question is directed to you. How has the online travel industry perhaps changed post-COVID? What are the one or two trends that you can tell our viewers?
Normally and traditionally, in every crisis we've seen before in the past 2 decades, the digital and the online business kind of benefited a lot. Now, when it comes to COVID specifically and the travel industry, I think it was the opposite for the first time. So there was like a new change in behavior. Generally, people with the lockdown ended up discovering more seamless experience with e-commerce platforms in general. People started shopping online, started buying their groceries online. Travel became another thing for people to come. From our experience as an example at WeGo, even in the days of the lockdown, we haven't seen that massive drop in sessions. People kept on coming, people kept on searching. They were trying to figure out ways to travel, ways to book a hotel, ways to entertain if there is a possibility around that time. Or at least they were kind of searching for future months. So in March, you would see people searching September. We used to call them dreamers, those who were basically kind of trying to plan something till end of the year, trying to find the regulation. So from that perspective, yes, people got those who were kind of hesitant of using digital platforms or kind of traditionally used to book offline, naturally came into the game. So I think those are kind of customers we acquired without really spending money or putting that much of efforts. It came as a plus. Now it's time to activate those customers and get them to use those services moving forward. So I wouldn't call it too bad from that perspective. Definitely everything else was paused for quite some time. So we haven't seen much of bookings or conversions. Our partners had some issues. We managed to do few repatriation flights for some of those who wanted with partnership with some of the airlines, the charters. Those were kind of helping the case a little bit, and digitalizing that experience that was beneficial and kind of served the purpose for many of the travelers around that time.
Let's slip into a short break on that note, but we're back in just a moment after this commercial break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow Weekend Edition. Today, we're talking about the tourism market in Dubai. Dubai was one of the first countries, in fact, to open up and to go back to business as usual. And this question is directed to Danielle. What lessons can perhaps countries like India and other countries learn from Dubai and the way you reacted to the pandemic and the way you were able to bounce back?
Yeah, it's important to note that we are in a destination that is currently working very quickly and reacting very rapidly to ensure that it's demonstrating and enforcing the regulations to health and safety. It's clear that it's been nimble. They've been very quick to respond to the changes, of course, in the COVID cases. But and to Marc's point, whilst keeping the city open for work and travel, it really has tightened measures and moves towards tightening those measures as we kind of progress, just to ensure that we're keeping the safety of everybody really. So self-distancing, mandatory face masks. Of course, it's our responsibility. It's our business responsibility. It's as a hospitality industry to ensure that these measures are being enforced. And with Dubai, I think we're fortunate, and across the UAE, in fact, that there are a number and an abundance of free vaccine centres. So it's the ability to provide those facilities to vaccinate with the drive that the UAE has, and particularly Dubai. They're on a trajectory of achieving 50% of the nationals and residents to be vaccinated. So all of this offering free COVID insurance, I think you both referenced that, Marc, within the booking structure and when flying. So flying with national carriers, and I believe Emirates are exercising this. So, we're very fortunate to be within this region that is safe, is operating, but ensuring the measures are implemented accordingly. The same will be with exhibitions. They are opening and safely. We're ensuring that we conform to the local authorities, but also our event safe strategy for READ exhibitions.
Mark, very briefly, could you talk about how important the India market is really for those of you who are operating out of Dubai?
Well, it's the number 2 market, and a year ago I would have told you that it is the number 1 market. The reason being that now the people in the UAE have become the number 1 market, and they were not at all before. So India is absolutely critical. So if you look at the outside, for instance, the month of December, more than 6% of the total bookings within Accor, within the 50 hotels we have here, were actually originating from India. And I think Dubai has so many connections and so much to offer to the Indian market on many levels. Of course, one of them is the fact that the Indian community in Dubai is the number 1 community. It's almost a third of the population is actually coming from India. And this gives a lot of good reasons for Indian visitors to come and visit family and friends, but also for the investors. There is a super interesting appetite, which I think will only grow after this pandemic. And at the same time, many other reasons are very practical. Shopping, luxury items are not in Dubai, tends to be cheaper than in India. Accessibility is great. Everybody speaks English, or sort of. So many good reasons why Dubai should continue to grow, and the Indian market in Dubai should continue to grow.
All right. This next question is open to the three of you, and I want to talk about digitalization and really the push towards digital, particularly in the tourism market, and the impact that we've seen on the sector. Mamoun, if you want to take that on first.
Yeah, sure. I think this digitalization generally started, I would say, 5-6 years ago to be taken more seriously, especially with the tourism organizations. If you want to specifically talk about that. All the other big chain hotels or airlines have been already done with whatever needed at the infrastructure base to build a great product for their consumers. I think tourism boards just discovered the need of having a full, library of content that would be able to be shared on all digital platforms. I think the virtual reality became quite in need for most of them. Like we did lots of work with our partners at the NTOs, where basically we created videos and we tried to create sort of joint campaigns on the basis of bringing the destination to users rather than when it's not possible to go to them, and that had lots and lots of traction. Applying all the data analysis tools that everybody talks about, having all the AI implementation in place, and having that sort of users profiling that will help companies and travel players and destination organizations reaching the right users with the right message at the right time. This is all going to be more in need now, and those who, from my point of view, who wouldn't be in that space of being capable to apply that sort of strategies will have no chance, or no longer chance, in capturing the opportunity out there.
Danielle, I want to come to you as well on that. Would you agree? And what comments would you like to offer on digitalization in the tourism space?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Although I also agree to the point that digitalization has, it has been around. It's certainly been accelerated by COVID, but we've certainly seen a lot of very efficient online booking platforms, etc., for the last number of years. It's part of our day-to-day life. I mean, even having business meetings, Mark, you referenced the point as we join this call. Conducting actual business transactions virtually does happen. We still communicate with our friends on weekends via Zoom or Teams. And essentially, there, of course, in the tourism industry are the easier online tools. There is an insurgence of the 360 virtual experiences. We see destinations getting more involved in that, so they can actually sort of bring the virtual visitor to them in times when they can't travel. But I think what I really want to raise here is it's important to note that traveling will always remain a live experience. So digitalization can help the transaction of booking and traveling and getting to the destination. Virtual certainly does remove the serendipity moment from a business perspective. So, I don't see it replacing, particularly in an event or exhibition company and attending those, but face-to-face will always remain key, whilst digital will enhance the experience, that's for sure. Because I guess creating long-term relationships and the tangible aspects of traveling will still remain.
All right, let me take one last question then as we close today's panel. And in 10 seconds or less, if you could point out what you think is going to be the big trend or the travel prediction for 2021, what would it be? Marc, if I could come to you first.
Yeah, leisure, because that's going to be the easiest one, and people will be so frustrated for having been on these various Zoom calls and not being able to experience, what they want to enjoy. They will do that, better, faster, on a bigger scale than what we anticipate probably. And I can see that for me, the end of 2021 and moving into 2022 is going to be very successful from that point of view.
Danielle?
Yes, leisure and luxury, I guess, but also the end-to-end assurance, understanding the security of when they're booking or travelers are booking, to make sure that they've got all of the advice and having the chat rooms to have that advice. When they're reaching the destinations, there's the buzzwords are workations at the moment. That's an opportunity because obviously that means families traveling together, staying in their bubbles, but working and leisure at the same time.
Mamoun, I'll let you have the last word.
Well, I do agree with both of my colleagues here. So it is leisure. There is a trend we've been seeing for a while that, shorter trips, multiple short trips rather than long, well-planned trip. I think that's going to keep on going.
All right, Danielle, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time on this panel today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For those of you watching at home, our contact details are on your screens as we speak. If you have any feedback, do let us know. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.